With your support, more transition-age foster youth can heal, grow, and thrive. The RightWay Foundation is transforming foster youth futures through housing, mental health, employment, and community.
Welcome back to RightWay Podcast, where you know our theme is 10 minutes of healing the right way. I'm your host, and we got part 2 of Gabriella, our new realtor. Well, let's give her the correct title, our new Director of Housing. So she shared from the first episode about her childhood growing up, tagging on our wall, jokingly I say that, go listen. And then she talks about what makes a good realtor and how her father was in the business. Now we're going to move on to our investments and how are you going to save our babies. And, you know, because you're well aware, foster youth is leading the way in homelessness. And we're tired as an agency paying rent. You know, it's going down the toilet with no return. And so now we're investing in our own property. So from you coming on board, what do you see about housing when it relates to foster care youth?
Just what you said, right? The pipeline to foster care youth that transition out the system is direct to homelessness. And with that being said, what are the support services that we're offering at that time and beyond, right? And one of those things, of course, is housing. But it's not just housing, and we'll get more into that as RightWay Foundation provides the wraparound services for all the many reasons of. But when we look at housing, we think, what's the barrier? And constantly, you know, we live in Los Angeles, one of the most expensive cities, California at all, right? It's still the 5th largest economy still to this day, maybe?
I think 4th now.
Fourth
we're
now?
up to 4th.
Okay, so
yes.
we're up to 4. So in that case itself, it is so expensive to live. So affordability is a barrier. Now, what does it take for us to build affordable housing?
Correct.
And effectively, right? It's not just providing housing. It's providing the wraparound services.
Correct.
But if we just focus on what I'm doing here in the vision that I have for the RightWay Foundation and the acquisitions that we're trying to get for the next few years ahead, it's really being able to tie in the different resources that we have, right? So let's take Mariposa for an example. So when we purchased Mariposa, we utilized capital from philanthropic and from the state and city, right? Because we're also being able to understand that the city provides vouchers for foster youth to be able to receive and get housing.
Correct.
And then you look at the private investment side, which we'll call philanthropy because it is, right? And being able to say to our partners that are donors, this is an issue. This area needs to be addressed and fixed. And the way that we're going to address and fix it is directly providing these services through housing.
Correct.
And so the housing infrastructure that needs to be completed is going to take more than just one person to provide affordable housing. It's going to take the wraparound services to ensure that any youth that comes into the housing, these properties, not only receive housing, but they receive mental health supports. They receive employment workforce supports because we're not just putting a roof over your head.
I know.
We have to make sure you're stable.
Exactly.
That you're thriving.
Sadly, the powers that be thinks, or no, some other CBOs or nonprofit thinks that we got to just house them and everything will be okay. I'm like, no. That's like giving my son, who's 18, a brand new Ferrari, and everything's going to be okay. No, he's not going to know how to drive it, take care of it.
Right.
You know,
and
appreciate it.
Let's talk about that because it's not only that part. Because you asked, well, what does it look like for the master leases that we have with other landlords, right? These are private landlords. And no shame to them because they are doing everything that they can to also be partners with us, right? But this is not their professional background.
You're right.
So they don't really understand why it is that we're working within this holistic approach, this model.
You're right.
And so when I was talking to you about Mariposa, the new property that we just acquired, we're thinking, how do we design these as healing homes?
Yes, correct.
And with the ownership of a private landlord, they're not going to have you come in and tear down the walls and change the colors on everything and put in, you know, all the new things that we are describing as healing homes. And I can touch more on the topic of what healing homes look like. But it's really much so focused on the design approach utilizing the perspective of how do you design for trauma-informed youth.
Yes.
Like the different colors in
Correct.
spaces, the textures of the furniture, the fixtures, everything around us. And I'm such a soul believer back to my childhood of being creative and loving different ways to create my spaces. I've always believed our environments have the biggest impact in our mental, physical, and spiritual health.
Correct. No, you're 100% right. And we will be reaching out to some designers soon, some good friends of the foundation. Shout out to Justine Blakely. But no pressure, no pressure. But no, I want to go back because you hit something, you struck a nerve with me. When we're dealing with our other property managers and we were on the phone setting up a meeting with our property manager, they have no clue on what we deal with. And they didn't build Lafayette with the goal of we're going to serve foster youth or we're going to serve youth that comes from trauma, so we have to convince them or show them or educate them. But it's a fine line. Do you think sometimes we'll scare some people away? Or what do you think?
I don't think so. I think if they are trying to be a part of the solution and really have a trust-based approach with their, tenants and us as those quote unquote tenants being the relationship that's holding, the master leases in place. Knowing that we're doing more than just helping them get tenants in.
Yeah, correct.
Honestly, we're kind of in the spirit of managing the properties.
Yes.
But without it being the conventional property management approach. Because once again, this is case by case. This is a very unique and sensitive type of demographic that we're holding. And so this has been the biggest problem in Los Angeles. We could all agree.
Yes.
How do you build affordable housing? It's not just putting a roof over a head.
Correct. No, you're 100% right. Yeah. We can't build our way out of this problem.
No. But we can we can start to mold.
Yes.
And just like any sort of seed, once you water it, it grows.
Okay. So going back, you recognize the problem with foster youth is a pipeline to homelessness. Affordability you mentioned because the economy we live in California. How do we convince, or what's our game plan to convince developers to build at affordable rate so we can keep the rent low for our youth? What's that game plan? That's what I want to hear. What's the idea in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, this is where the private and the public bump heads, right? Because you have the private side that is very capital driven, and not to say that we're not capital driven. Come on, I'm Director of Housing and Asset Management. I want to see us grow.
Make money.
I want to make sure that we are staying financially sustainable as well. But the only difference is, like for Mariposa, once again, when we purchased that property, we purchased it at market value. We didn't ask for a deduction for it to be subsidized and affordable to purchase. So everything is market value. But then the thing that makes it different is the way that you're then charging the tenants that will live in these structures. See, we're charging the tenants subsidized rents, right? Because each of the foster youth should be receiving dollars, whether it's SLIP or dollars from different other resources to help subsidize their rents. And when it comes to the side of development and what the private side does, which makes it seem like it's never going to be affordable, right? They're just trying to reap all of the capital that they put into a development site and build more capital on top of that. So have a return on investment. And typically returns on investments could be 30% up, right? So then they will increase their rents to market value, if not more, each year. So the way that we've been operating on how do we ensure affordability and these rents are making sure that the youth can afford them?
Correct.
Kind of following the same structure as like rent ordinance stabilization, which is you can only increase your rent 3%.
Correct.
So we're following the different dollars that the youth are receiving. And because we're owners, we have the ability to do that. And because we purchase the property through an affordable mechanism, which is utilizing philanthropic capital and also being able to get a loan. Shout out to Genesis LA for all the incredible things that you do for nonprofits.
Correct.
That's low interest.
Low interest.
We're able to afford it. Private developers, they're not always able to afford that because they didn't go through the same route that we did. So we have built a pathway that allows for effective, affordable development.
we're about to wrap it up, but how do you feel about what we pulled off with Mariposa and K-Town, and what you just shared with the audience? Is that the secret sauce?
Honestly, I feel a huge sense of hope. Like, hope is a discipline. You have to stay on it.
Hope is a discipline.
It's a discipline. You have to stay on it, and you have to exercise it. And I think the way that we approached the entire acquisition was exercising that hope muscle. And we did it. And so it shows that this is more than just viable. This can be a solution across the board for not only demographics of foster youth, veterans, etc. You name it. But
Mental
we
health,
have
housing,
to look at the population right now that is homeless and understand what are the root causes. And from that, address each and every one of them if we can. And, philanthropy is a huge, huge, huge asset and incredible player in this having a role here. So is the government and all the other entities that exist with us to support the RightWay Foundation and other nonprofit organizations. So I think just continuing to come together at the table is more important than ever.
Well, we want to thank you, Gabriella, and welcome you aboard to our RightWay team. We're excited about the possibilities and what you're going to do for our babies. Please tune in next week. We'll have another lovely guest where we talk about taking their pain and turning it into power. Remember, this is our holiday giving campaign, and it's live. So go donate. Visit our website at therightwayfoundation.org. If you can afford 10 measly bucks a month, go ahead and do it. I believe that's cheaper than 2 Frappuccinos. So on behalf of all the foster youth we serve in LA County, I want to say peace, God bless.